hoes at the door. What you ain't for? Better come and hit your goal. He jumping in both feet. Going to the sun up, we ain't getting no sleep. 7 days a week, 7 different sheets, 7 different angles, that could be your fantasy. Open up, say, come here, baby, let me swallow your pride. What you want, I can match your vibe. Hit me up and I'ma cha-cha slide. You make Mondays feel like weekends. I make him never think about cheating. Got you skipping work and me. Fuck it, let's sleep in, yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second, you know, night after night, I'll be loving you for 7 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute, every second, you know, night after night, I'll be loving you for 7 days a week.
Hey, Mom.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards. Yeah, we print that. But did you know we also print that? And that? And that? And that menu? And that's embroidery. But yeah, we print that too.
Can you print here?
Sure, we can print there. We can even help design it. We make print that lets people wear your brand. Take it. Stick it. Carry anything in it. With Vistaprint, the printabilities are endless. New customers get 25% off their first order at Vistaprint.com.
Another banger. Baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you, say I love you, no day for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me, no, 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 oh, 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 oh. Baby, gon' give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. You got me like, whoa, 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 whoa. Shawty gon' give me your lo, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I see this fine girl from my party, she wear yellow. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my divine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow. Finally I find way to talk to the girl, but in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom.
People on the side can fill in as much as possible. Our speaker's going to be way up center right now, which means that there's going to be less visibility for the screen because of the lights we have to turn on for people on the side. So if you are vision impaired and that's going to bother you, I recommend you move to the center section. Will you up there? Out of there.
I'm coming in fast. First place, you coming in last. I'm hitting that gas. I'm hitting that loud. Got motion. We causing a commotion. I put it in motion. Love and suspension. When you put up your guard, but I know I can make you believe I'm the exception. Hit the drum on your heart, baby. We caught a rhythm and it go like da da da, go like da da da. Make you feel some type of way, make you feel some type of way. It go like da da da, go like da da da. You could get that yesterday, you could get that soon as yesterday. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from nobody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from somebody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. That I'm free falling when you look in my eyes and the goosebumps they letting me know you got me calling. Hit the drum, blow my mind, baby. We caught a rhythm and it go like da da da, go like da da da. Make you feel some type of way, make you feel some type of way. It go like da da da, go like da da da. You could get that yesterday, you could get that soon as yesterday. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from nobody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from somebody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from nobody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. Oh, yeah. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from nobody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. You don't wanna cut if it's now on me. You ain't get this love from somebody else. I'm the only one you know who take control. I know you know. Go like da da da, go like da da da.
I'm the team mascot. Boy, am I running late. Ow, what a hit. And if you have cut rate car insurance, the cost to cover that might tank your season. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem like me.
You got a fast car, and I wanna take it to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, outside, I hear you've been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far, just to cross the border and into the city. And you and I can both get jobs, finally see what it means to be living. See, my old man's got a problem. He live with a bottle, that's the way it is. Said his body's too old for working, his body's too young to look like his. So mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's gotta take care of him, so I quit school and that's what I did. You got a fast car, is it fast enough so we can fly away? Still gotta make a decision, leave tonight or live or die this way. So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast it felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling.
How is everyone this morning? Bright and cheerful? Thank you for joining us at the Summer Institute. Welcome to Edmonds College. There's going to be some more formal welcomes. I'm just going to do the curtain speech really quickly. If you have to use the restroom, they're located out in the lobby across from where you registered. You're welcome to continue partaking with your beverages and your drink. Try and take me away from my coffee, just try. But please be respectful of our space, and if you spill something, please let myself know or Jared up at the booth know so that we can get that taken care of so our floors don't get sticky. And also there's lots of trash receptacles over here for y'all's plates when you are done eating. So we appreciate if you would throw those out. Other piece of information, in the event of an emergency for any reason, we have to evacuate the theater. This theater is equipped with 4 emergency exits, 1 on each corner of the building, and your seat cushions don't float, so please don't take them with you. If you need them. If you want to take a nap, they're not comfy for sleeping on. I've tried. So we'll evacuate. My staff will come down and assist with that as needed. Also, as I said earlier, we're having a bit of a power issue this morning with our lighting system. So if you have visibility issues with like the screen or anything, I recommend that you sit in the center section where that's going to be the best. The speaker is going to be closer to the audience than we typically put them. So for y'all on the side, I don't want you to feel like you're being left out if they're addressing mostly front versus side. So just be aware that that's an issue. We're aware of it, and we're taking steps to fix it. All right. Thank you, and please give a big hand for one of the people who put this whole event together, Mr. Dennis Gibbs.
Thank you, Jen. I should tell you all that Jen, after a lot of years of running this theater for the college, is leaving, and it's going to be a huge hole in the college. So as she said, I'm Dennis Gibb. I'm on staff here at the college. I work in the Veterans Resource Center in the next building back. My boss over here, Matt Durkee, was kind enough to allow me the time to do this. So thank you, Matt. So it's raining, so time for a joke. So there's a small church, and they've just finished services, and they're at that point where they make announcements. And the pastor stands up and says, I am the pastor of this church. I make $800 a month. It's not enough. Then the associate pastor stands up and says, I am the associate pastor of this church. I make $400 a month. It's not enough. Then the choir director stands up and says, I am the choir director of this church. I make $1,200 a month. There's no business like show business. So, welcome to the college. So a couple of housekeeping items. All the events for the Summer Institute will take place in this building, Woodway Hall, which is over here, or Montlake Terrace. All the breakout sessions are in Montlake Terrace. Lunch will be served both days in the lobby of Montlake Terrace, so you don't have to go very far. Woodway, the dinner tonight will be in the building upstairs in Woodway, as will some of the larger events like the reentry simulation and a few other things. So the classrooms in Montlake are marked with signs as to which ones are being used. So just when you get up to the second floor, just look around, you'll see them. You'll see them up there. All right. So hold on for a second. By the way, I'm not your regular MC. Thank goodness. So, first of all, let me state a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that we are in the traditional land of the first people in the Seattle region. These people, past and present, and we honor them and occupy their space with gratitude and thanks for the gift they've given us. Thank you. So, Dr. Singh, our president, is not able to be here, but we found absolutely the best replacement we possibly could. And she's here today, and so would you please welcome Dr. Yvonne Terrell Powell.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me over there? I'm just testing the mic. Can you hear me over here? Oh, what about what about over here? And over here, can you hear me? All right. My name is Dr. Yvonne Terrell Powell. I often remind individuals that I am the daughter of Gene and Spess. Those are my parents who passed away in 2018. And I think it's important to remember who is around you, who could provide you support. Something that many of you offer each and every day. There is someone around someone. There is someone there who can offer another individual support. And that matters. The work that you do, it matters. It matters to be able to have a group of individuals working on your behalf, helping you to re-enter into your families, your communities, education, your dreams, your aspirations. It matters. I am here today to welcome you in the absence of Dr. Amit Singh, the president of Edmonds College. But before I finish my welcome, I'd like you to turn to your neighbor or look at your neighbor and tell them you matter. And now I want you to do it without the laughter. I want you to do it without the laughter. And I want you to turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor you matter. That's a different feeling. It's a different feeling when you can look at someone and tell them that they matter. Welcome to Edmonds College. We are an open access institution, college, which means all are welcome. We are here to provide support, to provide care. I'll sneak it in, to provide love. We are here to help individuals reach their dreams, their goals, and their aspirations. We have people working on our campus who have been experienced or have experienced being a part of a justice system and working to return to their families and to their communities. We have services here that support our students. Services like financial aid. We have services advising, tutoring, student groups, services that can help individuals connect and have an opportunity to be successful. We all know that connection matters, engagement matters, and those are the things that can help an individual be successful. And finally, we have quality instruction. We have quality instruction and instructors here at the college who care, who want to identify and find ways to provide the support, the education, the knowledge, and the understanding that is needed in order for individuals to reach their goals, their dreams, and their aspirations, and find their rightful place. Find their place within their families, within their communities, and within society. And with that, I say thank you all for the work that you do, and I say, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell Powell. I would be remiss if a couple of things I need to tell you. Parking. We have lots, student lots. There's no students on campus, so if you're parked in the staff lots, at some point you might want to move your cars over into the student lots. If you get a ticket, please find me and I will be your advocate to security, figure out how to get it taken care of. So there's a lot of people who made this happen, and I think we need to acknowledge them. The leader of this whole gang, person we couldn't do without, is over here hiding in the corner, Anna Johnson. The other person we couldn't get this done without, really the godfather of reentry around here, is Joe Garcia. And where is our bean counter, Kathy? Kathy Wong? Kathy Wong, going once. But Kathy's the treasurer of the group, and there's other people who've been involved too. Michael Gonzalez was on the planning committee. There's a group of us that have worked on this thing. Don't want to forget you, Ty. You've been instrumental in this thing. So thank you all for this. I'm sorry? Taja, where's Taja? She here? Okay, these people all just disappear on me every time I make a speech. Yeah, April down with COVID, so she's got my thanks. All right. So the next thing on your agenda is an address at the Washington Statewide Reentry Council. We were supposed to have the chairman of that, but we, again, found the number one substitute, Mr. Ty Reed.
Thank you, Dennis. Dennis, you mentioned you take care of tickets. Is that only tickets on campus or off campus too? Okay, got it. Good morning, everybody. How we doing? All right, I'm standing in for Janelle McFeet today. Where's my clicker? Do I have a clicker for the slides that I supplied? Do we have the slides that I supplied? Okay. We'll do something else while we're figuring that out. All right. Whenever I get in front of an audience, I always like to figure out, I ask 3 questions. I know something about you folks here professionally. I know that you are all very passionate about reentry and see the reasons why reentry is really, really important to our communities and to individuals. But I want to find out something about you personally today. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I'm going to ask you to participate and get a yes out of you. Okay, first question. You get on an airplane. Recline or don't recline? Recline, yes? Don't recline, yes? No. Okay, that was confusing. Say no. I should ask you to say no. All right. I'm just getting started. I'm getting warmed up. So second question. All right, I see we have a wide range of decades represented here. Saying that in a very kind way this morning. All right. So you've got 3 choices. Best music decade. We're going to go 70s, 80s, 90s. 70s, yes. 80s, yes. There's only one answer to this question. 90s, yes. There we go. All right. Okay. I hear some groans in the crowd. This is working perfectly. Okay. All right. And some obscenities. Working perfectly. All right. So this last question, very, very important. I want you to take a look at the people on either side of you because this question is going to allow you to see the darkness in their soul. Is this a good person sitting next to you or the face of pure evil sitting next to you? Okay, we ready for this question? Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Yeah, yes or no? Yeah, it's not right. No is the only answer there. It is. I found out recently that someone I was dating likes pineapple on her pizza, and I'll tell you, I am really going to miss her. Jared, have we figured out my slide situation yet? Okay, working on it. I'll just kind of wing it here. So I'm here speaking on behalf of the Washington Statewide Reentry Council. And the Reentry Council is an organization of 15 individuals that sit on a committee that makes recommendations to the governor's office about what types of reentry services that we should initiate in order to help individuals that are returning to the community. Those 15 individuals that sit on the committee represent different constituencies. So we have someone from the Public Defender's Office, of course some people from DOC. We have a number of individuals like myself who represent people who have been in the criminal justice system and are living with criminal convictions. And we also have other places like the community college system and workforce development as well. This is kind of a big deal because there are actually only 5 statewide reentry councils in the entire United States. So Washington State is pretty progressive when it comes to focusing on services for individuals. Now, the Statewide Reentry Council, we have a mission and a vision which is in draft. Basically, the mission of the council is to make sure that we're improving the lives of individuals who have had contact with the criminal justice system. This also includes their families because clearly it's not just those folks who actually interact directly with the system that are impacted. It's their families. It's their friends who, in many cases, do that time with them, right? How many people in here are like me? You don't have to self-identify, but I'm going to ask you to. How many people here are like me and have had some involvement with the criminal justice system, either conviction or incarceration? Okay, great. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. What we do is in service of you, quite frankly, and folks like you, and so we appreciate you being here. The vision of the Reentry Council is to create a world where everyone has a fair and equitable opportunity at all of the other things that people in society get. Employment, housing, education, because as many of us know, depending on the type of crime that you have been convicted of, not that you necessarily did, but got convicted of, you can be denied many, many opportunities. You can be denied opportunities in housing and in education, and of course, employment is a big one. So our vision is that we live in a world, we live in a state where that is no longer the case. I'm trying to do these slides from memory, so bear with me for just a second here. Okay, let me talk about Reentry 2030. So Reentry 2030 is an initiative that is a national initiative that's been undertaken by a number of different organizations, and there are only, don't worry about it, you're good. You're good. Bro, you having trouble this morning. It's all right. Okay. So it's a Reentry 2030 is an initiative that's been undertaken nationally. They hope by the end of 2025 to have all 50 states signed up. Washington is about to become the second state to sign on, and the governor's office is signing on. Missouri is the other state. And Reentry 2030 does a couple of things, or asks a couple of things of states specifically. Number one, you need to publish some strategic goals and make them public, and you need to report back on what the achievement towards those goals is. So, for example, the state of Missouri has said that by, I believe, by 2030, 85% of people leaving incarceration will have employment within 30 days. Pretty ambitious, right? Really ambitious, especially when you consider that data today tells us that after 1 year, 75% of people who leave incarceration will be unemployed. Very ambitious goal. Their other goal is that 80% of those folks are still going to have work 9 months later. Also really, really important because retention is important because statistics show that in the 3 years after people leave incarceration, if they can hold on to 1 year of steady employment, so continuous employment, so not like labor ready, picking up a paycheck every day. We're talking about continuous employment because that builds stability. If they can get employment for 1 continuous year after leaving incarceration, the recidivism rate is 16%. If they can't, it's 52%. So stable employment, incredibly important. I would suspect that those are the goals that we're going to put forth here in Washington State as well. Don't know yet because the governor hasn't signed, but he is scheduled to sign before the end of this year, and we will definitely be working towards goals. The other thing that the Statewide Reentry Council does, and I think this is what I'm going to finish on because this is all I can remember. The other thing the Statewide Reentry Council does is we make recommendations to the governor about certain policies that will make it easier for people who are releasing and returning to the community to do that. So it used to be when you got released and you got to the gate, you got $40 and a ham sandwich. No ham sandwich. No ham sandwich. You're right. Just the $40. Just the bread. No mayonnaise, no mustard, just bread. No meat. Now that's been increased to $300 based on a recommendation that the Reentry Council made. So we do have some, I'm not going to say that we have a ton of power, but we certainly have lobbying power, and the governor's office listens to us. Because frankly, it was the governor's office back in 2016 that put the statewide Reentry Council in place in the first place. So I hope the way that you can participate is, so Jared, are we going to make these slides available to everybody here after the presentation? Anna Johnson, where are you? Hey, Anna Johnson. Can we get these, for everybody that's registered, can we get them a copy of the slides from the statewide Reentry Council? Okay. So the way that you can get involved with the statewide Reentry Council is we have bi-monthly meetings, and they are open to the public. They're done virtually. We hold them in person, but they're also done virtually as well. So last time we met, that meeting was held in Yakima. I went to Yakima for that. I don't recommend it. I'm kidding. It is the Palm Springs of Washington, Yakka Vegas. Yeah, stay in Seattle. So the next meeting, I believe, is going to be held in Spokane. Again, there's a virtual option, and we welcome folks, we welcome the public to attend these meetings, because what we really want is feedback, and we want your thoughts about the state of what's happening both in prisons and institutions and outside of prisons for people that are leaving. Yes? Yes, and so in the slides that I prepared today, there is email information for Janelle McFeet, who is the executive director, and Lorraine Olson, who is the coordinator. All you need to do is send either one of them an email and say you want to be on the email list to get those announcements for when the meetings are available. It's on the last page of the slides that you're going to get today. You're going to get after the presentation today. That is an excellent question. I don't have the answer to it. It's coming up though, because thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, please do. Please do. September 14th in Spokane. I went to high school in Spokane, so I'm not going to talk as negatively about Spokane as I do about Yakima. I'm just going to, U-High. Yeah. Out in the valley, baby. You got it. Oh, wow, okay. We should talk after this. All right. You probably have the same scars from Spokane that I do. All right, folks. Any questions or comments? If not, I'm going to wrap it up and hand this microphone over. All right. Thanks, everybody, very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ty. You'll hear more from Ty. He's doing a couple presentations, and if you don't know what Ty does, you really need to learn it. But this man's an incredible resource for you. One last housekeeping thing: presenters. I have login information for the computers in the classrooms. See me, and I'll make sure you get the correct information to log on. Okay, so now we're on to our feature presentation, and I'd like to introduce the man who probably has done more for reentry as far as in the state that I know of, and a generally great man who is instrumental in this whole process. I refer people to him, and all the people who go down to see Joe tell me what a wonderful experience it is to work with Joe. So, without further ado, Joe Garcia.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Excellent. Not bad for one vocal cord, right? And two belly buttons. My grandsons love it. They always look down and say, "Grandpa, where's my? I only have one." I said, "Just make sure you never have two like Grandpa." Okay? A couple things, it takes a village, and you're the village here today and tomorrow. This is not. I don't do anything by myself, ever. I grew up in a large migrant family, and there were 12 of us, so I've never been alone ever. In the military, never alone. All of you is what makes things happen. Spokane, North, Southwest, all over the state, the Valley, Tri-Cities. North Central, we got Jesus and Crystal here are the organizers for next year's Summer Institute. So they're here to learn from us, and we can imagine a great experience next year in North Central Washington. Transition is a process. The re-entry is the outcome, and that's the way forward. We've been very
Please
fortunate.
use your microphone. We are recording and streaming this. Thank you.
Okay. So again, we've been very fortunate over the last 15 years to be involved with a number of national initiatives with the U.S. Department of Education, U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Justice, the National Institute of Corrections, and always with our partners with DOC and U.S. Pretrial and Probation. CPTS would not exist in this state without three individuals who who really should get all the credit for all this. And his name was Keith Marler. And one morning, unbeknownst to me, they sat in front of his desk at South Seattle College. Anna Johnson was one of them. Jonathan Ishii, William Brown, and they just got certified at the National Institute of Corrections. And they came looking for a project. And so they talked to my boss, Keith Marler. They left there, and then Keith called me and said, do you know these guys? They just spent an hour or so with me. And I said, no, I don't know who they are. And he says, well, you're going to know because they're going to meet with you. And so that was pretty direct. I like that kind of old school boss. Doesn't hide words, no fluff, direct. Okay. Unfortunately, there's not enough of those left anymore. So we met, and then their project was morph out of the 5-year going home national project from the U.S. Department of Justice. In the state of Washington, 3 counties were selected: Spokane, Pierce, and King. And at the end of that 5 years, I think it was late 2006, we did 23, I think, focus groups in King County. And out of that came a commitment to sustain that 5-year effort into CPTS. But those are the ones who get the credit, not me. You're the ones who get the credit, not me. The people we serve are the ones that we're here for. We're here as servants to serve in the most humble, giving, caring way we can. And along the way, as all of you know, we build relationships and trust. And with that, the responsibility to continue to do the very best we can every day that our Creator gives us. But one person stands out besides Keith Marler in my life, in this life. 53 years I've been doing this work. And she has been steadfast through the strongest resistance, storms thrown at her in her quest for reform in this state. And she's been valiant with courage and focus. She's also one of the brightest professionals I've been around. Unfortunately, the only thing going against her is that I got to spend time with her when she puts her damn Seahawk jersey on. And I got to put on my 49er five rings, excuse me, jacket. Okay. So, nothing personal, okay? So, it gives me great pleasure, people, and take notes, because boy, does she have a head full of not only great ideas, but things that she put in place that have worked and are continuing to work. She has great re-entry teams all over the state, and we're blessed with one of the strongest ones. Sean, your team, great, thank you. Our DSHS partners, fantastic. Susie she's a warrior. She's an idea person. But I can't I've never known a person at her level that has so much compassion for our work in this village. So people, give it up for Susie Lavelle.
Well, good morning. Sorry for the hop along, but you know, it happens in life, right? So before I get started and talk on this wonderful topic of reentry, I do want to do something in honor of Joe and Kathy. So in corrections, we have this thing, and they're called coins. And we give coins out to people who do tremendous or honorable and fantastic things in times of challenge. And so I would love to present a Department of Corrections coin to both Joe, and there's a way we do it. You got to do it the way we do it. So we have to shake hands. I had to practice this, by the way. In order to be able to give these out, you have to do it in an honorable way. So the coins have our logo on one side and Department of Corrections, and these are a sign of respect and honor. Thank you for your service and everything you've done for this state. Kathy, the same for you, my sister. Thank you very much for everything you've done. This coin is for Dr. Hernandez. I'd hoped that she would be here today, but I'm going to entrust that you're going to make sure she gets this coin for her courage and strength to continue what we started and to have the bravery to take it to that next step. Well, I'm really excited to be here this morning and to talk with you. What an honor it is to be here today and have a chance to share with you my perspective around the work and what we're doing. So I'm going to ask the difficult question as well. Is the PowerPoint available? So I'm afraid mine won't be quite as impactful without the pictures. So I have it. You have the laptop, right? I have it here. Is there a way to get it to you? Here in a moment? I'd be happy. Are we ahead of schedule a little bit here, Joe? Okay. I mean, I don't know if we need to have a little potty break or something like that. Maybe come back in 10 minutes, please, and then we'll get moving on.
My name is Richard Hoffman.
Hoffman. That's a little familiar.
Yes, I've wrote you many letters.
Oh, well, did I ever respond?
You could take your seats again so we can get started, please. Will all the people who are here as volunteers please go out in the hallway and meet our volunteer coordinator? All volunteers out in the hallway. We also need volunteers to participate in the reentry simulation. So people ask me if I'm going to go through a reentry simulation, and I tell them, no, I did it for real. But we do need volunteers for that, if you could see Anna outside. And the last thing is our campus photographer will be wandering around here taking pictures, so don't be alarmed. He's safe. All right. And here's Susie.
Okay, well, that was a well-earned break, right? I mean, might as well start off with the positive strengths. Always start off with strengths. Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Susie Lavelle. I work with the Department of Corrections, and I am so happy to be here with you today and talk with you and give you a perspective around transition, reentry, incarceration. Again, I just, hats off, Joe, always. He's a good man. Although as a Niners fan, I wasn't going to call him out, but, he already did it, so. But, see, it's always about collaboration and seeing people for who they are. I'm still going to take you to the football game, right? And it's the big one, the Thanksgiving one, against the Niners. I thought that was pretty, pretty much showing how both sides work. Okay. Are we ready? Right. We got a PowerPoint. Woo! Okay. Okay. So, I'd like to talk with you today a little bit about perspective. So what do you see? See a wolf, right? What else do you see? Okay. What feelings come up when you see this picture? Don't hurt the puppy, right? You're kind of worried, yeah? A little bit worried. What do we know about wolves and wild animals overall? Territorial. What else do we know? Are they domesticated? No, so a little bit unpredictable, right? A little bit unknown. Maybe we take what we know, what we believe, or what we were taught about that wolf or that group, and that's how we interact with that group. Would it surprise you to learn that this wolf only wanted companionship? I want to tell you and share with you about a story about this wolf named Romeo. I recently took a trip to Alaska, and if that is on your bucket list, move it to the top, people. It's an amazing trip. So I went to Juneau and went to Mendenhall Glacier. And one of the tourists, you're on the bus, and this bus driver, man, was a wonderful storyteller. And he told us this story about Romeo that has stuck with me ever since I went up to Alaska a few weeks back. So Romeo was part of a wolf pack in the Mendenhall Glacier. And he had a mate, and that mate was carrying babies. Unfortunately, the mate got hit by a car right around that glacier area where the tourists go. At that time, this wolf left the pack and hung around Mendenhall Glacier. So a man goes, every day he would go out on this block of ice in the snow and throw the ball for his Labrador. I want you to know back actually at this picture, that Labrador is 100 pounds. So the scope of size and amazement of that wolf, just kind of take it in for a minute. Wolf comes up, stands toe-to-toe with this Labrador, and that owner's like, I don't have a gun, I don't have a knife, I have no way to protect myself. That's the first instinct, right? Lo and behold, did he not understand that all that dog wanted was this. I mean, look at the upper right. Who could have? I would have never thought to have seen a wolf do that, right? So this man was smart enough to think, this is really unusual. I need to take note. I need to look at this. He started keeping a log every time he went. Pretty soon, and they named the wolf Romeo, because he was a lover, not a fighter, right? The whole concept, right? Eventually, Romeo started chasing the ball. He didn't retrieve it back to the owner, but he would chase the ball. I mean, how he plays. Look at even the upper left. A moment of emotion, of sharing, right, between creatures. It's amazing to think what this represents. I mean, just take it in for a minute. What was something that was seen off in a distance, coming closer, getting bigger and bigger, was an element of fear, not understood. Have you often felt that you weren't understood coming out of prison? That you didn't know your way, that you maybe looked like this wolf amongst others? That's what I want to talk about today is perception and perspective. Regardless of your political affiliation, this is a powerful statement, and I believe that this was meant at the time it was said, and that it occurred. America is the land of second chance. When the gates of prison open, the path ahead should be to a better life. Have we done that historically in our nation for people re-entering from prison? No. No, we haven't. We've had the war on drugs. We've had the idea that people who go to prison are bad or not worthy. Those things have been things you probably have heard or experienced. There's a reactive stance to people who come out of prison. Is there a look for people who come out of prison? What does that look? Khakis and a t-shirt, right? Standing at a bus stop with a box or two, correct? National sentencing, along with state, have been reactive to the issues and the problems around drugs and or mental illness. Starting in the 60s, if you go back, we start to chart those kinds of things through Nixon and all the presidents since about being reactionary to things, even though knowing what was going to happen. That's a shameful time of our country and the decision-making of our leaders. There has, as time has evolved, there's a recognition of the need to support and help people coming out of incarceration. So narrow down a little bit to our state, our history. We're not that old as an agency. We've only been around since 1981. Prior to 1981, people under the probation and parole arena were part of DSHS. We've also had an evolution since 1981. When I came in to the business was 1990. Please tell me you were all born by then. 1990. It was still a land or an idea of social work, of human element, of being able to support people, help people. You know, over time and evolution, whether it was gangs, whether it was the product of not having laws that actually dealt with the problem, right? That we closed down mental health hospitals. And the unfortunate consequence of that is what? Our prisons become mental health hospitals, and we're not equipped for that. The war on drugs, we've criminalized addiction, correct? Is that not a fair statement? We've also criminalized poverty, if you start to think about it, right, in our country. These things have effects, and that evolution of things got pretty, I think, sad for a long time for those that are incarcerated. Not a lot of support and help, except for small groups and pockets of things. Today, I see our agency very differently. I've experienced that evolution, in part through partnerships with nonprofits and grassroots organizations. Community. I mean, hats off again, Joe, the man, right? And why we follow that? Because it's true, it's real, it's a passion. Anybody heard of the acronym NIMBY? Not in my backyard? That's got to stop, right? We can no longer do that to ourselves, to each other, or to our future. The way that we have to get around that is to educate, is to talk about things, is to share experiences, and to see and help people succeed in a way that's been different than in the past. Grassroots organizations do this, and they're so important and vital to our country. CPTS history. Again, please, a round of applause. Big shout out for that. We wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't have my first Keynote experience. I mean, come on. So when you think about perspective, something that comes to mind for me is early in my career in work release. Now they're called reentry centers. Again, an evolutionary moment. The agency recognizes it's more than a job that people need help on the way out. So I think that's a plus. So this was probably mid-90s, maybe 93, somewhere around there. I'm in work release downtown Seattle doing an intake. During that intake, I ask a lot of questions about people, want to get to know who's sitting in front of me. And then also there are certain requirements you have to go through and go over as part of the development of your custody plan. So I'm sitting there next to this gentleman and asking him a lot of questions. We went through the substance abuse section. And he listed all the drugs that he had used, but he didn't mention one. And I said, hey, well, what about marijuana? Susie, that's not a drug. I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's illegal. You can't use it, right? And you're not supposed to have it. What do you mean it's not a drug? So he proceeds to explain to me his perspective, his norm, his reality, and that he grew up in a family where his parents smoked marijuana every day, just like I guess my parents smoked cigarettes at the time. My father smoked a pipe, right? And so we went on to talk about it, and he very well knew it was illegal. He very well knew that it was against a society rule, but in his perspective, it was normative. So I really had to sit back and think about that, because I could have said, well, you know, regardless of your feelings and how you feel about it, you can't do it. And you can't do this and that. But it really was an aha moment for me to say, well, wait a minute. If I just take the stance of, I'm the enforcer and you can't do it, and you can't go here and there, how does that help him make decisions to do better for himself? So that was lesson one in my career about perspective. Make sure you understand who you're working with and who it is. Take time to get to know the person, because what's on paper is not the whole person. Whoops. So this is in our state. This is what incarceration looks like from a wide lens. Now again, it's not individualized other than where you might see planned development or something like that. There's a period in a facility. All those kinds of things have to happen for someone to move forward. Transition. Joe said it, transition is a process, right? It takes time. Transition is about the person, it's about you or you. It's not about the crime, it's not about your conditions, it's about you. The ability of you to change that way that you see yourself, the way that you see community, so that success can be part of your story. And then community. What happens out there? Successful reentry is the outcome. This is a little bit of how it looks in our state. But let's talk about the person. Coming into prison has to be a fog. Whether it's your first time or not, there's addiction struggles, possibly mental health struggles. There's trauma. There's missing family. There's losing of status or opportunity. What's going to happen to me when I go here? I'm comfortable here, but what happens when I move here? These are things that every, I believe, incarcerated person feels coming in. But I'm going to challenge you to say that it's similar going out. Somebody comes into an institution, you get used to the routine. We tell you how to do it, what to do, when to do it. And what do we do when you don't? We don't have the conversation. We infract, right? We've got to get rid of that system. We've got to exchange and interact with each other. We've got to talk about these experiences. Coming out of prison, one of the experiences that I've seen people, and I've been doing this a while, 33 years with Department of Corrections, 4 years law enforcement before that. I see a lot of people check their tools at the door. There are programs in prison. They're not always readily available at every time. But there are programs. There is opportunity. There is treatment. But it's almost as if there's a party mentality that comes with that. How many of us remember high school? I do. Right? You get to graduation. Woo, it's a party. We graduated. We're on to the next phase of our life. These are monumental things that happen to us in life. It seems that that same thing happens with people coming out of prison. I've made it. I'm going to celebrate that. The problem that comes with that sometimes is when people aren't prepared to be at that station when they're living here, those temptations become really big, right? If we don't have the tools to manage through those things, the support of other people to help us, to keep us honest, those are very difficult times and decisions. This can be what the community looks like for people, no matter how happy we are to be home, because we're still a little nervous about things. I appreciate the comment about 2030. I thought we actually were the third state. I thought somebody snuck in under us, so I appreciate knowing that we're the second. We're excited to do that. We're rewriting the executive order for Governor Inslee to look at and the Reentry Council to look at in terms of how state agencies will interact for the benefit of returning citizens. And I say citizens because what do you get to do in partial confinement now that you didn't get to do before? Vote. And that's important. Please, please share your voice. As we move forward through this, and we think about the kinds of things that we can do, how we do our jobs, the way that we interact with people, I thought about this quote from Barack Obama. And if you remember the George W. Bush quote, and then you look at this one, there's an evolution there. There's a difference in focus. So what I'm saying to you is take this quote and read it a couple times to yourself. How do you fit into this? The way I do that, be curious. Ask questions. Don't just be settled with, hey, how was your day? It was good. Well, what made it good? Right? Engage with people. Don't just be the check the box kind of person. Be authentic. Show your passion, your belief in somebody. Because this is the other part of the equation. Our responsibility as the Department of Corrections and any staff within it is to provide opportunity, support and opportunity. We don't own the outcomes, whether they're good or bad. You do. You own those outcomes. Be part of that process. Engage with people. Don't be afraid to take risks. Risks are how we get things accomplished. I wouldn't be standing here if we didn't take a risk 23 years ago, something like that. And to see and to know that over 9,000 DOC people have gone through life skills to work and graduated onto better opportunities for themselves, that fills my heart like nothing else. Be personal with people. Don't be private, but be personal. If you're a parent and someone's coming out struggling with a toddler, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, when I had a toddler, these are the things I did. Right? We all need that kind of support. I don't know about you, but when I had my first baby, I was scared to death. You know, was I going to be as good as my mom? Was I going to do this? All these unknowns. It's not any different for others. Educate yourself. Know the business. Don't sit and tell stories that you don't have facts for. Tell the stories that you experience. And if you're going to use someone's story, get permission for that. Honor that story. Know your baggage. This is the other side of the equation, right? We all come in with good intentions, but know your baggage. Because if you don't, sometimes you become part of the problem. Understand bias. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm racist? No, it does not. It means that even all of us who share commonalities, if you grew up in a different area of the country, you're going to have different perspectives about situations, circumstances, and events. Understand and know those. Know your fears. There's nothing to be afraid about with the population. Be respectful. Be humane. Be a person. Right? The best way that you can keep yourself safe when you're in the community and you're engaging with others is to understand your situational awareness. Always have a plan. Always engage in an authentic, professional, sincere way. Those are things that keep you safe. I remember another time when I was in the work releases early on, and when I had my first child, and I went out on maternity leave, came back to work. And there was this new individual, new gentleman on my caseload. We did intake. And he wasn't very sharing. He didn't share very much. And I was perplexed by that. I thought, God, man, oh gosh, I go off, I have a baby, I can't do my job anymore. I'm not very good. I can't engage this guy. What's my problem? So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it. A couple days later, well, actually, it was about a week later, he came up, asked to talk to me, and I said, sure, yeah, what's going on? And he says, I need to apologize. Okay, what for? You know, I thought you were going to judge me because you had a baby and my crime is against a child. And I thought you would treat me badly. And you haven't done that, and I'm sorry. Can we do intake over? Yeah, let's do it. That was an aha moment for me, right? Being able to understand not only my perspective, where does that come from, but how am I seen? Am I seen in a way as being a helper or a harmer, herder, right? So when you think about things, when you think about your job, when you think about your role, your passion, whether it is your job or you're not, soak it up, whatever it is you do. Learn everything you can about your craft and others around you, about the population, the community, best practices, and other tools. Don't think that you know it all. Please know that you don't. We have something to learn every day, and no matter where we sit in the spectrum. Learn about yourself. What do you bring each day? Do you bring that approach that's going to look at the positive and the strengths so that people can build on things? Or are you going to be the one that looks at the deficits? Because I can tell you what, nobody ever leaves with a smile on their face from that conversation. We all understand we have challenges. We all know that we do. But if we only focus on those, how do we see life? We see it half empty, yeah? We want people to see things half full. Or is there something I'm not seeing because of a bias, assumptions, right? You have individuals on your caseloads or people that are re-entering from communities, and yeah, you know their criminal history, you know what happened, or they'll tell you what happened. A lot of people are pretty honest about that. Again, when you're sincere and authentic to want to know, not to spread it, right? Because there's some distrust that comes that way, and we have to honor that. We have to work through it. Find strengths in others. Always know, no matter what situation, there's a strength there. This may not be a popular statement, but I believe it to be true. Gary Ridgway has strengths. Nobody wants to think that. Nobody wants to believe that. But it's true. We have to look at that amongst ourselves and with each other. We all have biases. We all have lenses. We all have perspectives that either open the world to us or close those things down. Perspective is like a muscle. You have to exercise it. You have to think about it. You have to own it. And then change it if that's what you want. Find a mentor and a champion. Whether it is that you're working in the field or you're being served by the field. Find that mentor. Find that champion. You will always benefit from open, honest, and confidential conversations with a mentor. There is no downside to that relationship. Develop a relationship with someone who's willing to listen, give advice, go to bat for you, but also call you on your stuff. It's easy to be in those circles where we're always being rah, 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 right? But those moments of growth, the moments of opportunity, come when we accept that I can be better, I can do better. After you've found that champion, don't settle for that. Don't be selfish. You got to give it back. Turn around and pay that forward to someone else. Remember the golden rule. This was something when I started long, long time ago. Actually, decades is true. Treat others as you would want to be treated. You know, I was rambunctious in my teen years. I'm going to admit it. I got into trouble. I was not an angel that I am today. Kelly. I was brought home by the police a few times, but back in my day, police brought you home and your parents dealt with it, right? You didn't just automatically go to juvie or somewhere else and then get the call. It is for the grace of God that did not sit on the other side of the fence. I understand that, I know that. If I grew up in today's world doing the same things I did, I would have a record. School to pipeline is true. Don't think it's not. I think that we can make strides and deal with that, but it is there. Things that we think sometimes are for the best reason in a reactionary mode, actually, if we look through history, have done more harm than good. I say this to you because that is the single most important skill to bring to this work, is to be humane, to practice humanity, to understand and know that we all make mistakes, but we can recover from those. We can be better, we can do better with the proper care and support. But we never get there if we don't take care of ourselves. Please practice self-care. Emotionally, don't let things fester. Don't let that conversation or that feeling or that interaction monopolize your negative thoughts and bring those to you. Make sense of the experience and put it in context, and then let it go. Just let it go. Physically, if you exercise, great. Runners, more power to you. See you on the backside. My boss has always said, if you see me running, you better hightail it out. Okay? Whatever it is that you do, hobbies, sports, go Hawks! Sorry, Joe, I had to do it. Those are important things, right? Financially, be mindful. Have discipline. Set goals for yourself. And most importantly, don't overspend, right? Don't put yourself in a situation. These are things that you have opportunities to build positive life skills for yourself. Don't run out of money the last 10 days of the month where you have to decide, how am I going to eat? Figure out, use your support systems. Figure those things out. We can help. Spiritually, fill your bucket daily. Whatever that means for you. Please, if it's meditation, religion, connection with others, whatever it is, fill your bucket once a day. At least. We want to get people into thinking and planning. Get out of acting and reacting, right? If you see the world is against you, you're going to be hard to get out of that mode. Acting and reacting is impulsive. It's sometimes irrational. And that's where we oftentimes stumble or over ourselves or each other. Thinking and planning. My lesson on this one, again, goes back to work release. I'm telling you, I got a lot of stories from work release. One day, so we had a rule at work release. I wouldn't sign passes unless you turned it in a day before. Why, you think? Because I'm trying to get people into thinking and planning, right? Out of, I forgot to put this thing in, I got to go, I got to do this, I got to do that. Nope, we're going to think and plan. Now, always, there's room for flexibility. Things come up. Gentleman came up, said, I got this, I got to go do this UA over here at this company so I can start work on Saturday. Well, that's a great reason I should modify my rule, right? So I did. Signed the pass. Next thing you know, I had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people coming up. Not because of that reason, but, she's signing passes. Let's go get her to sign her passes. I'm going to tell you what, it pissed me off. It really made me mad. And I said, no, I'm not signing anymore. And I left the building. Got in my car. I'm driving home. At that time, lived down in South Seattle, driving on Rainier Avenue. Guy cuts me off. I'm like, that's not, no. So I get in and I cut him off. Because, I wasn't having it. So get to the stop sign. And I couldn't believe this happened. I still can't believe this to this day. He threw a penny at my car. I don't know about anybody else, but I lost it. I got out of the car, and I start doing this. What do you think you're doing? Right? I use some expletives. I won't use that here. He gets out, and he leans on the car, and he's kind of, you better get back in the car, bitch. I lost it again, and I yelled, and I got right in his face, and I went right up there, and I said, I am not afraid of you, right? And the guy next to him in the passenger, he's like, dude, just get in the car. She's crazy. Just come on. Get in the car. So I get back in my car mumbling and yelling, right? Get back in the car. Just hit the gas pedal. I get about 2 miles down the road, and I'm like, what did I just do? I had to acknowledge in that moment that what I did was my own fault, right? I allowed myself to get frustrated over something that I compromised, and I put it on somebody else. Because that wasn't going to happen to me today. No. That was a big lesson for me in my career. Not only how do I leave work, but how am I present there? The decisions I make aren't somebody else's fault because they take advantage of an opportunity. That's on me, right? Also, separation of your work and your personal and your rejuvenation, your ability to get that energy back. Take time for you. I let that ruin my whole weekend. because then I felt guilty, and then I felt bad. Wanted to apologize. Of course, I'm not going to find this person in the universe, right? But there I was, left with some negative baggage that I created, but I put on somebody else. So a big lesson for me around self-care and not to take it home each day. When we talk about perspective, I wish that was a little brighter. I don't know if there's a light that can come on it, but the Department of Corrections offers a camp for kids who have incarcerated parents. And we started it in 2015. We call it Kubi Camp, Kids United by Incarceration. Of course, we didn't get to do it through COVID. This was the first year we got back to it. 2019 was the previous last year. Everybody, there is nothing better than that. That has filled my heart immensely. It's been 2 weeks since we've been there. I'm still have a little camp song in my head. I'm wonking around, feeling pretty good. If you ever wonder why you do the work of transition, why it's important to help people, that's it. I mean, look at this girl right here. Right in the front, right here. Her camp name was Pizza. She was one of the most dynamic kids, reminded me a little bit of myself and her energy level and how she just really engaged. She wanted to volunteer. She wanted to be part of everything. There were some moments when we had some tears, where we talked about burden buckets. What does it mean to carry burdens as a child? How do you get rid of burdens as a kid? We talked about this being a community. You're no longer by yourself, or feeling as though nobody can understand what it means to have mom or dad gone for a reason that you don't get to talk about. It's not like they're in Europe on vacation, right? This is an invisible at-risk group, everyone. Children of incarcerated parents are at a higher risk of difficult times. I don't know if people understand or know that ACEs study, Adverse Childhood Experiences, this group's in that. We need to remember how we treat the incarcerated population has a direct effect on this generation. It's important. There is no better objective than to raise a healthy child to an adult. We get to be a part of that. And make no mistake, these are the faces of incarceration. Don't think they're not. They really are. So wow, 37 years. Ooh. Sometimes it's really hard to think that I've been at DOC more than half my life. It's a weird thing to think about. I don't know where the time goes. I really don't. I started out in law enforcement. It's what I wanted to do. I grew up in the 70s. I mean, who else grew up in the 70s? Anybody? I mean, all the cop shows. It was best TV, right? And, regarding the songs, 80s is way better than the 90s. I mean, the 70s, they really laid the stage, but the 80s, I mean, come on, rock bands and hip-hop, the whole thing. The 90s got all the benefit of that, right? It really was a wonderful time to grow up. But I grew up wanting to be in law enforcement because I wanted to help. I wanted to serve. And law enforcement plays a crucial part in our society. However, it wasn't enough for me. I would see the same people coming out that I arrested that weekend. I'm like, what's going on? What? Here's a referral. Here's services. People wouldn't go. I couldn't understand it. I chose to come into corrections because I thought, I get a whole year with somebody in supervision, right? Or in a reentry center, or maybe in their incarceration, to work with somebody, get to know them, to talk with them, to really help and engage. That, to me, filled my passion. 5 takeaways that I'll give you from my career. We are all the same. You are no different than me, really. We all have a heart, we have lungs, we have muscles. We may not all have legs or arms, or one eye or ear or whatever, but we're all fundamentally the same. Second thing, people can recover. We can recover, not only as an agency, as a society, as a community, but as an individual. We can do that, and we should be allowed to do that without fear of that one time, that one thing. Relationships. Nobody has made it to the top, whatever you define that to be, alone. Not one person. Think about all the famous people. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, gave away everything, right? They never did that alone. They always had a group of people, supporters, champions, mentors. Those relationships that you form, leverage those. Leverage those for good. Leverage those to make things happen, to create things, to create opportunities. Number 4, celebrate success. Be diligent. You know, we're part of the process, but we don't own the outcome. Your success is yours. I don't get to say, I did all these things. Great, look what I did. No, I provided an opportunity for this person. They took advantage of it. Look what they did. That's the cheer. And 5, and I say this to you from the bottom of my heart, the only thing that matters is how we treat each other. That's it. Thank you for listening to me today and allowing me the opportunity to share a perspective over this long period of time. I want you to think about this. My question for you is, what is your plan? Who are your champions? Who's in your corner? Who keeps you in check and holds that mirror for you? I hope in the end, all said and done, on my gravestone it says, she did it well. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. This was wonderful. So we're going to the first breakout session. We have volunteers who will help you get to either Woodway or to Mount Lake Terrace for your classroom. So, take off.